Okay, this is a recording of the government stimulus efforts and want to cover some key points. Basically, going into a bear market in response to the crisis, governments and central banks all over the world have enacted both fiscal and monetary stimulus measures to counteract the disruption caused by the coronavirus. And here's a list. So, what is the US doing? First, the US Federal Reserve has taken a number of significant measures and they provide monetary stimulus. Fiscal stimulus is the next part. First part, monetary stimulus. March 3rd, unscheduled cut to the federal funds rate FFR, slashed by 0.5%, almost to zero. Largest cut since 2008 financial crisis. March 12, massively expanded the on March 12, massively expanded the reverse repo operations. We know the repo operations have been happening since September 2019. Now the Federal Reserve has done something called reverse repo operations, which has added $1.5 trillion of liquidity into the banking system. This means that the Fed extended the amount of short-term loans to banks to keep money markets stable and allow banks to have more cash. What are these money markets? Basically, they are markets for very short-term loans, kind of like interbank borrowing, overnight borrowing, but within the domestic area and not necessarily international. So LIBOR is probably not this. Now again, March 15, this is number 3. Federal Reserve cut interest rates again by a full percentage point, down to a range of 0% to 0.25%. This was a huge drop. In addition, Federal Reserve has also restarted another program called quantitative easing. They were trying to not use the term, but now they are using the term quantitative easing. And what they're doing is they are purchasing about 500 billion in treasury and an additional 200 billion in mortgage-backed securities. So when they are buying the US treasury and they're buying 200 billion of mortgage-backed securities. Most likely for the mortgage-backed securities, they're buying significant portion from Fannie and Freddie. So in exchange for putting in $200 billion worth of money into the system, they're just basically printing money and buying up some things, but at least its assets are getting diversified because now the Federal Reserve owns these mortgage-backed securities and of course treasury. That's the easy part. March 16, Federal Reserve has increased the reverse repo operations again. It was already pretty high. It was 1.5 trillion. Now they have added another 500 billion. My goodness, that's a lot of money. And it just took 4 days to add that much, printing money out of thin air. That shows how fragile the markets are. I mean, these banks are, how levered up they are. March 17, now the Treasury Secretary Mnuchin announced that he was approving the Federal Reserve's creation of a facility. So this is an interesting thing. There are, I believe, 3 facilities being created. One is the commercial paper funding facility. The other one is primary dealer credit facility, and then the third one is money market mutual fund liquidity facility. So there are three such facilities that are formed. The first one is called CPFF. The second one is called PDCF. Apparently, the first one and the second one, which is the commercial paper funding facility and the primary dealer credit facility, are part of what they call Great Recession era tool. So this is something that was probably done before, maybe in the crash of 1929, and they are kind of doing that again. So basically, what does this mean? Commercial paper funding, which allows the Fed to create a corporation. So the Federal Reserve is now creating a corporation which can purchase commercial paper short term. So creating a fake corporation from which the Federal Reserve is buying commercial paper, or which is basically nothing but short-term unsecured loans. So this made-up short-term unsecured loans that are made by businesses for everyday expenses apparently are being bought by the Federal Reserve, creating a fake company, literally a corporation. And when they say that they are purchasing, basically they are putting cash into that and buying up certain loans for which they owe. Okay, very interesting here. And how much are they? And this is short term unsecured, so they obviously will have a high interest. And how much are there? 10 billion from the treasury to help cover the loan losses incurred under this program. I wonder who is going to be part of this commercial paper. I'm sure it's not the average person. It's going to be for the banks most likely. Let's check. The program will end on March 17, 2021 unless it is extended. So it also says it's a relaunch of a program originally launched during the Great Recession, where many businesses were hurt when liquidity in the commercial paper markets dried. So everything goes back to short-term unsecured lending. So that's the first thing they did. Okay. Secondly, let's look at what they did on March 17, again same day. Another relaunch of a Great Recession era tool, and this one is the Primary Dealer Credit Facility, PDCF. This is effective starting March 20th. The PDCF will offer short-term loans to banks. So they have created another entity, a facility that will offer short-term loans to banks, and these loans are secured by collateral such as municipal bonds. Okay, so they are going to buy up municipal bonds. Okay, so this primary dealer credit facility is going to buy up all the remaining municipal bonds, so at the city level, in exchange for cash. So that is the secured. The PDCF will offer short-term loans to banks that are secured by this municipal bond collateral, or even investment grade corporate debt. That's interesting. So bonds, corporate bonds, that's a new one. I don't know if it's the first time they're doing corporate bonds, but the Federal Reserve buying corporate bonds, that doesn't sound like capitalism. It's like China owning a bunch of their businesses. Anyway, so looks like starting March 20, all of these two are happening. Smart, they have somehow added the municipal bond and in fact kept it as R investment grade. Very nice, smart. This program will run for at least 6 months. So immediate bailout of all the bonds. So what is the thing for them? Bonds are just an instrument for any corporation to make money, raise money. So when you have decided to bail out big banks or corporations, you have to kind of have an IOU, so to speak. So this is a fancy way to do a very, very simple thing. Give them money in exchange for corporate grade bonds or investment grade bonds. Okay, understood. And on 18th, the Federal Reserve announced a third facility called the Money Market Mutual Fund Liquidity Facility, MMLF. Okay. Money Market Mutual Fund Liquidity Facility. This is a new program. Okay, they are finding new ways to mess with us. So it's a new program to lend money to banks again. So you have already pumped in tons of liquidity. Now again a new program to lend money to banks so they can purchase assets from money market funds. So you are giving these banks a lot of money so that they can buy assets from money market funds. Okay. And he himself says, so what is this? What is a money market fund? Like example like the CPFF, which itself is a damn freaking corporation that they are just starting. They are just creating this commercial paper funding facility which allows the Fed to create a corporation that can purchase commercial paper, short-term unsecured loans are made. And then there is this money market mutual fund liquidity facility that can lend money to banks so that the bank can purchase assets from the aforementioned CPFF. Oh my god. It can also do the treasury. Basically CPFF. The treasury is offering 10 billion to cover loan losses the Fed incurs from the program. The Fed is going to incur loan losses. Very smart. Of course, the Fed will incur loan losses because it is designed to lose, because it's short-term unsecured loans. And to cover that, there is a new program that lends money to banks so that the banks now, which are already in trouble, can purchase assets from money market funds like the CPFF. And for all this, the treasury is offering up to 10 billion to cover the loan losses that the Fed incurs from the program. Oh my goodness, what complexity. In addition to this, lending under the program will not affect bank capital requirements. Whoa! So this is all in addition to their existing capital requirement, which itself is super tiny and they are over levered. So none of this is going to affect the bank capital requirements. Okay. This program is scheduled to run until September. This is similar to the AMLF program launched in 2008. There you go. They called it AMLF. Now they are calling it MMLF idea. So launched in 2008 after the collapse of Lehman Brothers, which caused a major money market fund to fail. At least they've learned something, looks like. So a big money market fund failed in 2008 after Lehman Brothers failed. So to prevent that, now they have a MMLF. Before they had a AMLF. Okay, I'm going to stop That's it for the monetary. I have no clue what that is. Next part is fiscal. That's actually people like mainstream people, businesses. How are they going to get money? Let's see.